Innovative content. Global audience.
Yes, people, welcome to an extraordinary town hall meeting. I'm going to tell you why it is extraordinary in a minute. Just don't rush me. My name is Daddy Chris, and I'm broadcasting from SRTV here in London. The town hall meetings, as we said, is a platform where we unveil personalities, organizations that are making impact. And for some time now, we focus on the Nigerian politics. We're going back there. But tonight, we have an extraordinary human being to introduce. Let me say something. I think God created this world and He made us extraordinary, but some of us are ordinary. I think we can all be ordinary, we can be extraordinary. But tonight, this is an extraordinary human being. Why is he extraordinary? Why is it an extraordinary show? When you now become a bank to bankers and you are a black man in another part of the world, in United States, I don't know which other name to call you. All I can say is you are extraordinary. That is why tonight on this very August occasion, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege actually to be in the presence of greatness. What are we talking about? I'm talking of the CEO of NVC. You see, I like to call it, I want to pronounce, let me tell you, it's NVC. You see, Fund Holding Trust. Now, you might not understand what that means. Just wait. You will see why I said he's a bank to banks. And some of the things he talks about to be honest, they were alien to me. So I'm taking my time to learn. And I hope you all take your time and listen and learn tonight. Sir Frank, you're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, Daddy Chris.
Yes.
Pleasure to be with you.
Yes. The platform is already flooded. I have my team all the way from Canada. David is right on the platform. He's going to join us quickly. All right. And also Faith Rabot from France. They're all joining the show right now, right here. So let me quickly bring them on board. Let them introduce themselves. Hey, David, how are you?
Not bad. So yes, my name is David Emeka Mabele. I am based here in Canada, background Nigeria from Delta State, professional background. I'm a senior project accountant. I basically work from home. I deal with builders, and on the other hand of things, I'm a movie producer. I'm a skits writer. And being on this platform is to push our indigenous, or to help a lot of us in diaspora to understand and find our feet, right? So having mutual people, especially people of color, coming together from different countries, I think is a great stuff, because we could learn a lot. And I'm happy I have Frank here, who's gonna give us some words about mutual fundings. And funny enough, I just watched one documentary about the greatest highs that happened when it comes to mutual fund or banking that caused one of the greatest depressions. So I think it's going to be a great day. I think that's basically much about me. I have shot a few movies. I've done a few skits. So if you have time, you could Google my name and last name. And yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And that is, anyway, we'll be talking about us more on Sunday, where I will be introducing the SRTV teams. But right now on this show tonight, before we zero on our main guest, is Faith Rabot. Faith is joining us right now from France. Faith, please tell us, because you're going to be seeing this face regularly right now. Faith, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Faith Rabot. Yeah, I'm here connecting from France. My background is journalism, project, events, and I've been doing this for Nigerian Television Authority in the year 2002, 2003. It's not about me tonight, so this is what we do, and I'm so glad to be here to be part of the team. I am representing SRTV in France as a director, and we have a lot of projects that we are still cooking. that the crisp is still in the oven. We are cooking, we are baking.
Yeah, we're cooking
So
it.
to
We're
not
cooking
say
it.
about
Don't let
normal
anything out
commodity.
yet. Don't let it out. Keep it. Seal it.
Mouth
All right. Yes. So let us zero on our main guest tonight, Sir Frank. Sir, it's a pleasure to be in your presence. You know, it's one of those things we say, oh, these people are from far from us. We are fortunate to have you, sir. Please introduce yourself to us. Tell us what you do. You know, I want you to relax tonight because we are with you. We want to feel you. We want to learn from you, and we want to bond with you in a journey to move destiny to the next level. Please start by telling us who you are and how you actually started, because we're going to talk about MVC Fund. But we want to know, let the audience actually know who Frank is and where Frank is right now, and a little bit about you before we zero on the business proper. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you so very much, Chris. My privilege to be with you this afternoon from here. I'm in Dallas, Texas. I don't know. I'm getting an echo on the communication. I don't know if it's just from my side or from both sides.
No, I don't think we're not hearing it yet. But sometimes what I would say to people, if you're not talking and you are in the studio, please mute your phone. When you're about to talk, you on it. So that is the right way to go. But I think we are okay, sir.
Okay. So it'd be good if everybody mutes their phone.
Yes.
So I will not be hearing the echo.
Yes. I know maybe you might be, but if you mute mine, I will not be able to coordinate. So I always try to.
That's all
right, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Well, like you rightly said, my name is Frank Ekejija. I'm based here in Dallas, Texas. I've been in the United States since 1981. So that's a long time.
Sorry about that. There was going to be people calling in too early. I want to beg, if you have any call, can you please wait? We will receive your call in the next few minutes. Let us have a moment with our guest first. So I don't know who is calling. If you don't mind, please, I would say, could you hold on so that I don't just disconnect your call? Thank you so much. All right, sir. Over to you, sir, Frank.
So I've been in the field of finance since 1985, and so I consolidated all my previous companies into NBC Fund Holding in the year 2000.
Okay.
So NBC Fund Holding Trust is a common law trust which is set up to manage assets. So we are an asset management company. So the acronym NBC stands for Network Venture Capital Fund. So that's what the NBC stands for.
Okay.
So since 2000, we've been involved in consolidating assets. I think at about 2007, I was fortunate to have a large mineral resources assets brought into the trust. And that had a substantial value. I think at that time it was around 1.3 trillion. So on the basis of that, we've been creating financial derivatives, bonds, trust units, promissory notes, and so we trade with those financial instruments with counterparties that are really willing and able to accept the assets as the means of carrying out transactions.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I had a call coming in.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's kind of things happen. It do happens. Yes, sir. Anyway, sir, I'm going to start from the top to the bottom tonight. All right. And that brings me to a very important thing. Sir, you are said to have your NVC fund, you're going to tell us what that is. But what amazed me, or what is interesting, and which I know my audience want to hear, and I want you to confirm that, is you own and manages assets. I mean, NVC fund now owns and manages assets in the range of 5 trillion US dollars. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, it is. Yes, it's above that.
We'll come back to that, because that is just so that if you're here tonight, when I say he's extraordinary, now you know why. To have a black man in the United States owning and running an asset, managing an asset in the range of 5 trillion US dollars. Africa needs him. We're going to talk into that as we move along. And I'm sure my people are all listening to great Frank with us tonight. So I'm going to come back to you, sir. So question is, what is NVC fund? Because we don't understand. Most of us are big laymen. We only hear about businesses and they talk about funding. What is it all about? Who are your clientele? That is the right way. Maybe we can understand it if we know who your clients are. So because this is beyond us. So who are your clients? How do you operate? What does it mean to be? What does NVC? What do you do, sir? What do you do there, sir?
Well, like I said, NVC fund stands for Network Venture Capital Fund. That was how it was set. We've grown it into many SPVs, that is special purpose vehicles, and which includes banks. We have our own banking license through the African Diaspora Central Bank. So we practically do very large transactions, and to that end, we partner with financial institutions that require a stronger balance sheet, and we advise governments and those who need to rebalance their books, because in the world of finance, balance sheet is everything. By balance sheet, you're talking about the difference between the liability versus the asset. So where an institution or projects require a strong balance sheet that is above what the banks can underwrite, we step into that space and undergird the banks or the insurance company and be able to provide them the asset that they need to make a difference.
Okay, sir. We're going to see, we'll be coming to actually trying to get it a little bit more, because I'm trying to break it down so the ordinary man looking there can say, oh, okay, he can do this. Maybe, for instance, let me just throw one thing, but I'm going to come to the details of what you do and where you are now. But I want us to go into something very, very detailed, sir. You mentioned to me that there are different bank zones in Africa. Let's look at Africa, because that is a place which really concerns us on this program right now. We have the West African, the East African, and the South African, and there's another set in the diaspora. Can you please talk us through the different, what I call level of banking in Africa as it concerns the diaspora, so that the audience can understand others?
Well, I think what we're dealing with in the continent of Africa is the marginalization through the balkanizing of the African continent and their countries. The resistance to see the African continent become one united continent. I'm sure most of you who study these things realize that we have 54 countries in the continent of Africa. And they are broken down into little countries. That way they are not able to function as a whole. And that was a deliberate action that was taken back in 1894 at the Berlin Conference. So that's a big issue. because here in the United States, and of course you saw how Europe turned around and created European Union, because there's strength in consolidated unions. But when it comes to the African continent, they don't want the African continent to be united. And so there's a problem. There's a logistical problem.
Okay, sir. Before I will even move further, I love this. Though you're going to give us a little bit breakdown, because I really want to know the different zones of banking in Africa. Like you said, you have the West African zone, the South African, and then the diaspora have their own, the East African and stuff like that, making it up to 6 of them, right?
Okay.
All right. So
in that regard,
yeah,
there have been attempts to create and create regional blocks within the continent of Africa. Most of us are aware of. I think all right, on the conference.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the African continent is divided into 5 regions, as it were. You have the South African region, you have the East African region, and then you have the North African region, and then you have the West African region, which is called ECOWAS. So the African continent is split into 5 regions. But a few years back, there was an agreement to create the 6th region, which comprises of all the Africans outside the shores of Africa. And we call that the ECO6 region. The ECO6 region was agreed upon by the African Union to become the 6th region of the African continent. So all the Black people outside the shores of the continent of Africa belongs to that region called the ECO6 region. All Africa, all Black people throughout the earth originate from Africa. And so the region that became the 6th region of the ECOWAS, that was approved by the African Union, consists of all the Black people, regardless of when they left the continent, that are based outside the shores of Africa. So that region is called the ECO6. And that means all of the Africans in diaspora are members of the ECO6 region. Most of us are not aware of that creation, but that should be of comfort, because the ECO6 region is the strongest backers of the change that will take place in the continent of Africa.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, better now. Yeah, because I was trying to run away from the call here. Sorry about that. All right, sir. We're gonna go back into this proper. I'm gonna come back and we're gonna dig into your clientele, because we want to see how you can be of benefit and what your branch is doing currently in Africa. Where are you in Africa? That is something I want to ask. But a young man is asking a question here. I know Kevin is very good at this. He said, you are speaking his language. He understands what they call financial engineering. I have no clue. And I guess many of us don't. I have a good monetizer that monetizes bank guarantees and block funds. I don't know if your company gives out bank instruments like bank guarantee and bank and block funds. That is a question from Kevin.
Yes, we do. That's my areas of expertise, because we underwrite very large transactions. So we issue bank guarantees, we issue financial instruments, because we have the ledger, we have the balance sheet to be able to cover any kind of risk and because we cannot exhaust we cannot exhaust our capacity because of the size of the fund.
Amazing. So one thing I must say this is, for those of you just joining us, we are in the presence of greatness. Frank Ekejija is the CEO of NVC Fund Trust Holding. But I really want you guys to listen carefully tonight, because he's speaking a language that very few of us understand. But if you listen, I'm sure you take a lot away from this show. So you better listen. And like I said, you can join this show either by joining the video link, which is almost late now. Those of you who couldn't, you can send in a message if you're watching on Facebook, and I will put the questions across to him like I did just. And if you, at the end of the day, you can also phone, but please wait a little bit before your phone start popping in, so that I can get the details out first, so that you have questions to ask. So that brings me back, sir. I see I know I'm sure my people have a few questions to ask, but let me put this in the simplest form of language. The Delta State government, I want to just explain it, give an instance, sir. The Delta State government, the federal government of Nigeria, for instance, wanted to do something. They wanted this agricultural big project, and they needed people to guarantee. The federal government, it's a central bank initiative. They're giving about $45 billion US to farmers. Actually, it's 240 billion naira, not dollars, to farmers in Delta State. I bring in the gentleman here on this show, and he talks about how the state government have to guarantee that kind of money. Is that the kind of things you do? Before you answer that question, sir, I saw the landscape is like, when I look at your real estate initiative, you are not talking about the city, you are talking about the country. I mean, people come up with real estate and I see them say, this is one estate, this is two. But what you came up with, sir, is a country. In fact, it's beyond my understanding how your company can be thinking of building a country, because that initiative is bigger than a village. How do you explain that, sir, to us, those of us who are watching right now?
I didn't quite hear what you were saying because there was some echo. When you talk about you're talking about real estate or the?
Yes, I saw real estate, which your company came out with, understand? And it's larger than, in fact, you're talking of, it's like somebody that's going to build a country, and I wonder, what is that all about?
Oh, you're talking about the Frank Ekejija estate?
Yes, sir, the Frank Ekejija estate. That is more than an estate. That is a country, sir. What is that initiative, sir?
Well, the Frank Ekejija estate is the holding entity to the NVC Fund Holding platform. The estate is all of the gifts and resources that God has created in me. So the creation of the NVC Fund Holding is the brainchild of the Frank Ekejija estate, which is my estate. I'm Frank Ekejija. So the Frank Ekejija estate is a divine estate.
Okay, sir. Before listen, I'm shooting my two beautiful faces out here. I'm sure David from Canada have something to say, a question for you, and I'm sure Fetera also. But let us first listen to what David have to say. David, are you ready to input something quickly? If you're going to talk, David, you have to unmute yourself. I can unmute you as well. Yeah. Okay, let me unmute you. Okay, we cannot hear you because you're mute. You have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I have 3 screens here, so I was looking for where my cursor was. So I had to bring it down here because I'm using this one for this live presentation. Yes, Mr. Frank, honestly, I'm kind of happy with what you're doing, and for us, that are out here as for diasporas and that are living here, we know Nigerians were very very hardworking, very industrious, and we try and match facts, what we see. So I think a few questions I have here is, how do we look up this network venture capital? How, like, what's the search words? Because I try to look for it here, and I couldn't really tie it down to you. So if you like, for purpose of everyone knowing, for the viewers online too, we would like to know, like, where can we find this information, know what like, if you want to read about what what you're doing, at least we should be able to go somewhere and see all this. So yes, if you could tell me where we could get that information, that would be good. Then I have other more questions. Yeah, so on to you, Frank.
Okay, I can. Your volume came down, so I can barely hear you. But what I heard was that can you find information about NVC Fund, the holding?
That's correct.
Is that your question?
Yes,
that's correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, you can. I think we're on the internet where we have a website, several of them. But the nvcfund.com is the main website.
Yes.
NVC platform is also one of our.
Just to answer that phone question, I put on the website link.
Yes.
It's www.nvcfund.com.
Okay.
All right, if you go in there, there's a lot of information there, actually.
Sounds good. And
so the volume went down. So I don't know if can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah,
yes.
Loud and clear, sir.
Can you hear me?
Hear everybody well. Yes, we can hear everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you're using your phone, so probably maybe you need your headphones, something like that. Probably next time you want to use your headphones. Yeah, your earplugs.
We're gonna have.
I don't have earplugs, so I'm talking directly to the phone.
I understand
That's fine.
Okay.
So I think another question I have for you was, you talked about managing assets and all that. So how do you get funding? How did you start this great company? Where did your first fundings come from? How did you set up, and how you helping Nigerians out there with this business you have?
Well, for a long time, I did not do business with Nigerians, and I did not do business in Nigeria because what I do requires, the scaling process is pretty steep. And so the kind of numbers that I deal with are not a little bit larger than what most people talk about. So it's a little bit lonely at the top because the transactions that I get involved in are pretty substantial and large. The size of funds you manage determines the clientele that you deal with.
Yes.
I am just now beginning to step it down a whole lot so that we can accommodate more people, because at the beginning I started as a financial advisor, financial planner back in the late 80s and early 90s until I moved out of dealing with individual advisory to more institutional. So what I do is more of institutional, because once I had the bulk of the assets, the mineral rights, come into the trust, we became a lender of balance sheet. We lend our balance sheet and financial statement and issue bonds and trust units and financial guarantees. And so we deal when projects require large collateral. So we're a collateral provider.
Yeah.
So
I think probably maybe you're drifting away from my question. So my question was, how did you raise your funds? Like, how did you raise funds to start this business of yours? Was it solely your own personal investment?
Yes. The funds that were engaged in running the funds in managing NVC personal resources. So we did not seek for outside funding, because we lend assets and then we get return on the assets that we lend. In other words, somebody needs NVC fund to provide them collateral. They pay fees to NVC fund for the use of the balance sheet and the financial statement. So imagine if somebody needs, let's say, 100 million or 500 million or a billion, we can lend them the assets through the issuance of the trust units. And so they pay a consideration for the partnership. In other words, we admit partners, they will have to come up with a percentage of the amount of assets that they desire. So in that instance, let's say you need $100 million worth of collateral and assets. I can ask for, let's say, 1-2% of that value. That becomes earned fees for the contribution of the trust assets and the partnership to partner with that business. So that's how we earn our fees and keep the.
Okay, awesome. And I think the twist question, sorry, Chris, I think the twist question into that same one was how this your business now caters for Nigerians.
And like, that's what
that's
what I want to ask.
Yeah.
Your branches in Nigeria. I understand you are in Abuja and in Uyo at the moment. For those of you who are listening, Kevin, he has an office with a big manager in Abuja and one in Uyo. I've been opportune to speak to them, and he's going to talk us through that now. It's in line with what our man David from Canada just asked. So we need to listen to this carefully. So before you read this, he said, we are truly in the presence of greatness. If Mr. Frank has those banking instruments in top-ranked banks in Nigeria and foreign instruments, then you have just made some of us billionaires. And that's why I brought him on the show, so that how we can tap on our brother. He has it all. He just want to give back to community, to society, and that is the thing. I haven't spoke to him behind. I know he's that kind. He's very humble, maybe you can see. You understand? But please listen to him very well. So, sir, could you tell us through your route, what you have put down on the ground in Nigeria and perhaps in Africa?
Well, we are just now beginning to be known in Nigeria. I have two individuals that are very conversant with NVC Fund in Nigeria now. Where we have an office in Abuja, then we have another office in Uyo, because before I deal with people, they have to demonstrate certain high level of understanding, and the scaling process is pretty steep, because unless they are prepared, I don't have enough bandwidth to deal with people who are not necessarily very prepared. So that the gentleman in Abuja is a Professor Fiemo, who is a professor of law and also of finance. And even then, we met many years ago, and sometimes he's still learning about what I've been trying to explain for a long time. And so he's done a lot of brain searching and due diligence through the years.
Yes, sir.
And working with the major banks in Nigeria and the central bank and the government of Nigeria. At this point, we are even more positioned, because it required, and it took the United States Securities and Exchange Commission to really delve into what we do, because they did not believe when they heard that we had a balance sheet and asset that was over 5 trillion. So they wanted to know, and so I went through that forensic audit from the government. And when they found out that it was true, then that became a real major problem for them, because they wanted to shut it down. But we did not allow them to do that, because we fought it in court, and now we are going through the settlement process, because they created so much damage and liability in their attempt to shut it down. But the court did not allow them to do so, because there was no basis for it. You see, you will know that when a black man in this world try to get some things done that is outside the range that they think you should go, they will do everything possible to make it difficult for you. So I went through that, and I'm still going through some of that. That's why I kept a very low profile through the years, because when people see you coming at this level, all the powers that be will do everything possible to try to make it difficult for you. And I'm aware of that, and I've been able to survive that, and I'm grateful to God for the tenacity and the spirit that He had given me to do things correctly.
Thank you, sir. And for those of you who just watching, you might be wondering, where is he from? This is a man that grew up. He's an Okpe man. For those of you joining me tonight, he's an Okpe man from Delta State and Robo man from Nigeria. So we're talking as if he's far. No, he's a brother. He actually grew up in Saple. He can tell you all the stories. He knows all the streets and all that. So he's not too far from home. Well, so just so you can calm down and feel at home. Sir, I'm going to really, before we go into some of the challenges which I am aware of that you might be going through as a black man talking about this kind of figure, you are, in fact, if you're even white, you're in a position where your privacy needs to be invaded. You understand? And as a black man, the more. But I'm going to let, before we go into that, I'm going to give this beautiful lady from France to say one or two things, and then before we move further. Over to you, Faith. Okay, now your phone is still mute, Faith. Yes, thank you. Just unmute it, and we'll get on.
That's true.
Yes.
First and foremost, I want to commend Mr. Frank for the good job he's doing there, and for representing Nigeria, in a very, very positive light. Having said that, my question is just I think it's 2 in 1. The question is, as a black man in a country where I would say we have this projection that paints us in a very negative light, no thanks to the crime rate, our records, all over the world. Nigerians are doing good, but some are also tarnishing our, our image with a lot of, crime stories and all that. How were you able to distinguish your brand, to get to the stage you are today? What were those sacrifices you put in? I'm asking this question because of some of us that are here that are also hoping one day, to kick off something, a project. How were you able to stay afloat? How did you get here? That's the question.
Good question. Very, very good question, and thank you for that. Question. It is not easy at all being a black man and then being a Nigerian. That has been one of the weight you have to carry. But I'm grateful to God for giving me the foundation of ethics and steadfastness. I realized a long time ago that whatever you do in the dark will show up in the open when the searchlight is shone on you. So as much as possible, I did things with that in mind. I knew that there's nothing hidden under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. So when you work in darkness, you should be able to do what you do in darkness, knowing that when the light is shone on it, that you will be consistent. So I've been very consistent, and with that in mind. So so here's what I went through over the last 5 years with the Securities and Exchange Commission. By the time the Securities and Exchange Commission came to my doorstep, trying to see if I was who I said I was, I already did everything, and I already did my books. I already had my financial statements. I already had audits. I already had valuation done. So I had a rating done. So I had all of those things done according to the American Institute of Certified Public Accounting guidelines. I had them done in accordance with the International Financial Standard. And I had them done according to the Appraisal Foundation. So everything was lined up, and they were presently surprised that I've already done all of that, but they did not believe it. So they thought that I made it up. And so by the time they checked through and asked for the source documents and the contracts and agreement, they had over 158 different files that they gathered from all over the world, trying to find holes in them, whether it was true or not. And when they checked with the accounting firm, because at the end of it, when I tried to get the big 8 accounting firms here in the United States to do my books, they would not even do it because they did not want to be the one to certify that a black man who had all of the numbers are frightening, no doubt about it. And so that's one of the things that I have to deal with.
Yes.
Is the size of the fund. If it was, let's say $1 billion or $2 billion or $5 billion, it will not be a big issue. But when you're talking about numbers that are so large, it frightens them, because when the news first came out in the press, the lady from CNBC Financial News called me to ask. He said, "You mean you are bigger than BlackRock?" Because the numbers were that large. I said, "Who said that BlackRock is the ultimate standard that everybody has to adhere to? That is, why is it such a thing that somebody can be bigger than BlackRock?" I did not quite appreciate that, but that was the mindset that they came with. In other words, they couldn't believe that it can be true.
Yes.
So that's the big problem that I have to deal with, and I'm aware of that. And so I sort of keep a very low profile so that they don't look at me as somebody who is trying to upset the apple cart.
Okay, sir. In fact, this is to be honest, sir, you are a potential threat to any society. Let me put it that way, in a good way. And so they need to know who you are. Even if you are in my backyard, I want to know, because you have the potential. If you point fingers somewhere, things can happen. That is the kind of weight you pull. And so for them, anyway, they must have. We're going to go into some of the challenges you go through. But I still want to go back to Nigeria first and see if you have any, because what you're talking about, and I really like what Frank is, okay, Kevin said it all. What you are talking about, sir, even some executive directors of banks have no clue. They don't. And I'm still thinking, I'm still trying to understand all you're saying. So we need people who have deep financial knowledge to understand what you're saying. That is even understanding it, not to appreciate the depth, the amount, the figures. In fact, it's threatening. So I want to understand anybody who say, who is this man? How did he come about this? And to crown it all, you are from Nigeria. For some reason, best known to the world. We have done it, but we have the best image, so to say. So it's a big challenge. But sir, let's come back home first, because this is the time we have you now, and I'm bringing you on this platform to tell Nigerians they have somebody that they need to work with. In fact, the good thing is Delta State is about to produce a governor. We are all preparing. We are going to need your services, and I know they are listening, sir. But before we come to that, let's talk about your project. Do you have any ongoing project with your people in Nigeria? What are they trying to achieve now to get you known in Nigeria so that you can begin to raise? In fact, it's about wealth creation really now, which is something Nigeria has lacked over the years. So where are you in terms of your activities on ground in Nigeria?
Well, we are working to step it down, but we So we are working to partner with the Central Bank of Nigeria, with the government of Nigeria. My office in Nigeria, the director of NVC Fund Investments in Nigeria, is in touch with the authorities in Nigeria, trying to sensitize them. So they are very much aware of NVC, and so I can only move as fast as they have the ability to deal, and sometimes in a society, they need to have the capacity and be able to know how to take advantage of what they have. And society, organizations and society, sometimes when they are so complex and steep, is more difficult for them to get to decision making, because they have too many constraints holding their hands, and so you have to wait until they are ready to deal before you can deal. I mean, I'm open to helping, but I cannot move it faster than they are willing to move.
Okay, it's like David is back, and we're going to be joined by Dr. Peter shortly. So if you set your phone well, I'll be bringing you on to have a chat with our asset here. You are not just you're not the creator of NVC Fund, which is an asset running, but you are an asset to us. And I want to say this first before I bring you to the rest of the world. I want to say, hey, everybody can take advantage of who Frank is, but he is my brother from my place, and we are in the present. Before we're gonna go back to the business side of it, I want to do a little bit of politics with him. Please give me a chance to do that. Sir, I know you've suffered what Nigeria is, but still you are still a Nigerian. You must have suffered what Delta State produced, but you're still from Delta State. You must be an honorable man. Currently, we are in the beginning. We are about to. Election is around the corner, sir. What would you like to see differently in Nigeria so that you can come in to help us in full? What do you want to see happen differently politically? Yes, sir.
Well, I think those who want the progress of Nigeria understand that Nigeria needs to change direction, because we've been going the wrong direction for so long, and that we have an opportunity to get it right, because God has given us a chance at this point to have a man of the integrity and the foresight of Peter Obi at this point. So if the majority of the people of goodwill will support Peter Obi to become the president, then Nigeria has a chance, because you see, we've veered too far away from the course of progress and the trajectory of normalcy. We need help, and it affects all of us. It really affects all of us. And like I said earlier on, being a Nigerian is a thing of pride at some point, but it's a burden at another point.
It's understandable.
The hope of Africa is in Nigeria, and I understand that. I'm glad. I'm fortunate to be a Nigerian in some sense, because from my vantage point at this point in life, and from what I understand and what God has done through me and in me, I'm so proud of Nigerians generally, especially those of us in diaspora, who are doing some things to lift up the image of Nigeria. And so if we get it right, then Africa will get it right. And leadership is everything.
Yes.
And I appreciate the leadership that Peter Obi has exhibited through the years, and that has given him the profile now that we should support him by all means, and give him, the mandate to become the next president of Nigeria. I think it will be good for everyone, whether you are from the north, or whether you're from the south, or whether you're from the east, or the Midwest. I think Peter Obi deserves our support, so that he can reset the trajectory of the country, and by implication also the trajectory of Africa. We should not take it for granted. We should not miss the opportunity to get it right at this point.
Thank you very much, sir. And for those of you, it's a personal opinion. This is very many of us, this is how we feel. You might be offended, but we're not talking about personal interest here. We're talking about the future of Nigeria. And this is a trillionaire, a Nigerian trillionaire in US dollars, residing in the United States, throwing his weight, telling us what he thinks in a sincere manner and in a very polite way, what he thinks will move us to the next level. He used the right word. Leadership is everything. For him to come home, there have to be some things in place. And these are the things we talk about. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to bring in Dr. Thank you. Oh, what a lovely face. Nice to have you. Dr. Peter, right?
It's nice Dr. Peter is fine. Dr.
Yeah,
Peter.
okay, Dr. Peter. It's nice to have you with us. I don't know whether you have anything to say. Where are you joining us from, sir?
I'm joining you from New York.
From New York, okay, sir. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. And it's a pleasure to have you on board. And you've been listening to what Frank has been talking us through, the opportunities, and how you guys in America actually first tapping into this. And then, because we want to tap into this, but he's an asset. He's with you guys over there in Dallas. So,
yeah. So is this my friend Frank from just in charge of the NBC Fund?
Yeah, that's him.
We spoke before, Frank. Me, you, and Joseph.
Yes, how are you, Doc?
I'm good, man.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, glad you're able to join us.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Glad you're able to join us.
Yes. My man over in the UK sent me this link, man. And when he said it was you, I said, let me join in and listen to you, hear what you say. I guess just I do want to say something, just for the for edification for whoever's listening, I always like to share that, my DNA brought me back as 93.5% African, and that Nigerian was the largest part of that DNA sequence at 38%. So I do identify with the Nigerian aspect, and I kind of understand it. I do have a question I want to ask you, because I'm serious in the government and politics. A lot of times, and it happens so many times over, well, not so many times over here. Well, yeah, it has. But one time in particular, I guess I'll specify, when everybody was excited about Obama becoming first Black president. Everybody was all excited, especially I would get in trouble already, right? and after his 8 years, most Black people began to realize that we were probably worse off than when we started, for all intents and purposes. And so with this new individual who you are acknowledging that may be a good individual to send the country in the direction that you think might benefit the vast majority of the people in Nigeria, because Nigeria is the heartbeat, I would say, so to speak, for Africa. Do you feel that confident in that individual that he will do what he says he's going to do, because so many times, as we have seen over here in America, we elect people and they tell us they're going to do X, Y, and Z. And when they get into office, it's a whole different scenario. So are you really confident? And what makes you this confident in this individual that is running for president in Nigeria? And when is the election?
Well, you know, you judge people by their track records and what they've done in the past. And so that's the only thing you can go by, and the character of the man. You know, sometimes you do things and people look over your life and then they can determine whether you're consistent or not. I think the man is very transparent in how he had governed. He was a 2-term governor of the state.
Okay.
And so we know what he did while he was in office. We saw all of the perks of office that followed his office as a state governor, and he rejected a lot of those constitutional perks because he felt like they were unnecessary, consistent with his character. I mean, he came to office to serve, and he served and he left, and he did not take anything with him. He did not accept a pension plan that goes with being the governor, a 2-term governor of the state. I mean, if all of that was for naught, then
yes,
then he had distinguished himself. And in other words, a man's record is all you can go by.
Yes.
And so we believe that he knows what he's talking about. I mean, he has seen the world. And we those of us with insight into what makes a man, what makes a man do what he said he would do, at least have the confidence that he will be very consistent and he's been very open compared to the other parties that are going in for the office. And so he deserves the opportunity to be able to do what he has done at the state level, at the national level. And if he one of the things we all need to realize is when the man arrives at the office, he will get a good, he will have a lot of help from those who believe in the trajectory, on what should be done for the people. At some level, you're no longer interested in your personal gain. You want to do what is best for the generality of the people. And so that's what we are hoping on.
Excellent. Yeah. I look forward to meeting him as I explore 2024 myself.
Yeah, I know you ran for president at one time here in the United States.
2020.
Okay.
Yeah. But if I would have known people like you when I was running then, I would be there.
No, it requires more than that.
But I know you now, though. I know you now.
If financial resources is what it takes, then a lot of people will be president. But sometimes it's more than the money.
Oh, well, I wasn't really necessarily referring to the money, because you know what? In actuality, if you take too much money, you owe too many people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always a danger. You know. And as I was referencing Obama campaign, his first campaign cost over $1 billion. You know, he had a lot of favors to pay back, man.
Anyway, the discussion today is not about politics, so I heard
you talking about the president of Nigeria, so you know that's where I came in at, and so that's what I heard. So I think I would elaborate on that. So about NVC funds. Are we talking about that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So let me ask you a question. Monetization. How do you feel about that area in finance, monetization?
Well, monetization.
How can NVC funds facilitate monetization?
Well, monetization is a buzzword. And what does that really mean? Monetization. Monetization is is a term that people just throw about that has no real substance behind it, except the understanding of what money is. And what money is: assets. A balance sheet is access to a system. What is credit? Credit is the ability to give to others what you have the capacity to give to them. So in other words, if I create an account for you and give you credit, is on the basis of my financial assets. In other words, you cannot give what you don't have.
Right.
If you have $1 billion of asset under management, you're not going to give 10% of it to one customer. You're not going to give 20% of it to any one customer. You can only give a fraction of what you have, so you can spread your risk.
Yes.
And the system, the financial system, the way it's set up now, it's been set over a long period of time, and it's set to the consolidation of a system that is now rested on the top 25 banks in the world.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the top 25 banks of the world, if you look at their balance sheets versus their asset versus their liability, you'll see that the gap between their asset under management and their liability is what you call the equity. And most of the equity in these financial institutions are based on goodwill, name recognition over a long period of time. Many of them in the top 25 banks, they've given to themselves a large intangible asset. Intangible in the sense that you cannot place a real net asset value to it. It's like a patent, it's like a derivative. So they put it as goodwill. But if you look at the shareholders' equity, shareholders' fund, in the top 25 banks in the world, none of them has more than 300 billion in terms of net asset value. I mean, in terms of shareholders' value. Wow. In other words, for the entire 200, most of them are even less than 150 billion shareholders' equity. But they have, so they claim the assets of their clients, and then they create liability on top of that. So they have liability. So let's imagine an institution like, let's say, JP Morgan. JP Morgan perhaps have a balance sheet of asset of around 2.8 trillion, but they have a liability of around 2 point something trillion. Then that leaves a net asset
equity
of around 600 billion. But then you strip away the intangible, and that leaves them with perhaps less than $300 billion in shareholders' equity. In other words, if they sell JP Morgan and they decide to distribute the net proceeds of the fund to all of the shareholders, they will not receive more than 250 to 300 billion.
That's deep. Yes.
Huh?
I said that is deep, sir. Deep.
Well, that might look big to those who
they're living on
in my position to be able to judge those numbers. So that is the world that we live in. But they've monopolized. I think I digressed. They monopolize the access to capital.
Yes.
The top 25 banks in the world. Well, So I'll leave it at that. Perhaps that question will come up at some point. How I
Yes,
feel
it
about
will. It will.
where we are and where
Yes.
Africa is in terms of global finance at this point.
Thank you. Because that was the question I wanted to ask. I wanted to say, other than because of your privileged position, sir, which African bank, you might not want to name, have this level to because you mentioned the top 25 banks in the world. Do we have any African bank?
No, there is no African bank.
No.
There's no African bank in the top 50. There's no African bank in the top 100 banks in the world.
Wow.
And let me point out how insidious that is. That is diabolical. Because the reason that is diabolical is that there are only 7 continents in the world. 7. And of the 7, one of them is not inhabited. Antarctica has no human beings living in it, so that don't count. But of the 6 continents, Africa is the richest, and the second largest, and the second most populated. No, Africa is the largest. Africa is the richest, but the second most populated. So by implication, you would think that an African bank would be in the top 6 banks in the world.
Yes.
But we are not in the top 10. We are not in the top 25. We are not in the top 50. We are not in the top 100. Something that is fundamentally insidious and wrong by all of its ramifications in commerce.
Would it be fair to say, or would it be right to say, because we have not been, because they've monopolized it, or they've been able to create a brand, like you said, and say, yes, I am so big bank, and they have what they don't have, they can claim it. But even African banks, whatever they have, will be nothing. Would that be right?
Well,
or we just don't have it.
Well, there's a lot of reasons that mitigates against that structure, and we have to do what we know how to do to correct it, and that will require a little bit of doing. But NVC Fund is set and to do something about that, and that's part of the task ahead for us.
Yes.
Because as a bank, are not regulated by the Western European system or the American system, but by the African Financial Regulatory Authority and through the African Diaspora Central Bank, which is also by treaty with the African Union. We are in a position to rejig the system, and
yes,
my position is to make NVC Fund in the top 10 banks in the world, because we have the assets to be able to undergird that, and by that we have a task and a work ahead to be able to provide institutional service to the African banks, to recapitalize them, to bring them under the umbrella, and provide them the financial backbone that they need to be able to compete. Because right now, they are not able to compete. They are not able to underwrite. They are not able to issue letters of credit. No African bank can issue $100 million worth of financial instrument that would be acceptable anywhere in the world without going through their correspondent bank. And in most cases, their correspondent bank will not give them that kind of support. So you see, that is why long-term industrialization will be difficult for the African countries and continent without the banking support. And that leap, that gap is wide and disorganized unless you have somebody who understands how the system is wired against them to help them navigate that trajectory.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know who you're talking to, who's talking right here, this is Mr. Frank Ekejija. He's originally from Delta State, now resident in America, but he is the CEO of one of the largest banking institutions in the world. That is the only way I could describe him. I describe his, the NVC fund as a bank to bankers, a bank to nation. And he's among the few banks that can compete wherever we are, anywhere in the world. And he's in Nigeria from Delta State. The question I'm going to ask, and I'm going to keep quiet, is, sir, what would you want from the Central Bank of Nigeria or from Nigeria? Or, in fact, because you're talking of Africa as a whole right now, what do you need from them so that you can actually bring their system to a level that, because from what I can see, there's that issue of not having the knowledge, not having the understanding, and we don't have the power, because when I say power here is we don't have the name, or these guys, they have their name, they can build on that. What would you ask from the African continent, perhaps let's zero to the Nigerian Central Bank and Nigerian government in particular, to see that most of these things come to life?
Well, what most people don't realize is that many of the central banks of this world, of these countries, they are not owned by the nations themselves. The central banks are not owned by the Central Bank of Nigeria is not owned by Nigeria.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Can you hear that? Can you hear that? That the Central Bank of Nigeria is owned by. Please talk us through that, sir, because I think this is interesting. You know, this very.
No, the Central Bank of Nigeria is not owned by Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria is controlled from outside Nigeria. The Central Bank of Nigeria is a creation of the Rothschilds banking empire.
What does that mean, sir? I'm very sure. Many are lost like me, you know. Dr. Peter might understand, but I am lost, and I'm sure very many people are lost.
The central banks of the world are not owned by their various nations. They are owned by a system that is woven as part of the Federal Reserve, part of the International Monetary Fund, and part of the World Bank. Those European American institutions that were woven together to manage the global economic system, not for the benefit necessarily of the host countries, but to their principal owners in Europe and in North America.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I'm very sure, and I wish Nigerians are listening. I know you're listening, and see, I'm gonna come back to the same thing again. The same question I want to ask again is, what can we do now to move from this zero position to maybe even 40? Because we are zero at the moment. How do we get up slowly, sir, so that we can begin the step? Whatever do you want the federal government of Nigeria to put in, the central bank to do, and we the individuals, what kind of cooperation would you need from us? And even perhaps Black people around the world, because you speak in a language that is beyond Africa. Sir.
Well, that's part of the the issue that we are dealing with, and the rabbit hole is pretty deep, and so you have to be very sensitive how you scale it, how you handle it, and that is part of the things that we at my level have to deal with. Systems that are set in place to disenfranchise a lot of people. You know, the world is created and based on a slave system, and when you refuse to act like a slave, then you meet a lot of opposition at the highest level. And some of us transcend that, and we refuse to be held down by a system that wants us to be diminished, wants our humanity to be diminished.
Yes, and that's
So
why
we
you
deal
were
with that at the highest level.
Yes, you were under a severe searchlight. I don't know, only God know how you got through that, sir, because what you're talking about here, it's too deep, you know, and it's too deep. It's too deep. So yes, sir. So I'm gonna just some questions that I couldn't put across to you because they are a little bit may not be within the level of what you're talking about, but I'm still gonna put this one from Ejogarado Prince Will. He said, how can your investment company partner with a verified bank idea, a verified business idea, especially in agro business sector in Nigeria? Let me put it that way because there was no Nigeria in it.
Okay, so what we're in position to do is to partner with the banks and financial institutions, because we can help them by partnering with them and lending our balance sheet to them. Because one of the reason most banks cannot compete is because of the size of their shareholders' equity. Their balance sheet is too weak, and you see how easily those balance sheets can be demolished and diminished, because when you devalue the currencies of these countries, you practically affect the balance sheet of their financial institutions. You demolish the balance sheet of the corporate entities and diminish their assets. And it makes it difficult for them to assess their credit because their balance sheet has been compromised and weakened by the devaluation of their currencies. You see, there's something egregious about the devaluation of the people's assets, and those things are done without much, to the detriment of the people that live in that space, that dwell in those spaces. And so when they devalue Nigerians' currency or devalue because of the actions of governments or the people not being productive, and it diminishes their humanity and diminishes their net worth. So it's a big issue, and so who can help them? Only those whose resources are outside that environment, in an environment where the currency is more stable, in an asset base that is more stable, that can be able to underwrite and undergird their transactions. And so we're in a position to be, NVC Fund Holdings in a position to be able to do that by lending and partnering with those institutions that are ready, willing, and able to partner with us, so we can give them what they are lacking to be able to do more for their people. It's unfortunate that in the Nigerian context, no bank in Nigeria can lend $50 million to one customer.
It's not there.
Okay, you just imagine that.
Yes.
No bank in Nigeria can lend to one customer 50 million because their entire, I don't know, the most well-capitalized bank in Nigeria net worth. It's not up to 10 billion, or no bank in Nigeria has a balance sheet of $20 billion.
Nah, they don't.
Okay, so how can they help? And how can they help anybody? And they might be very big in Nigeria, but they will not show up in the bankers' almanac in the top 20, in the top 200 banks.
They are not in the calendar, sir. They are not. Wow. See, I'm going to say this. I'm going to read this out, and we're going to go on a quick commercial break. I can't think of a better place to go on a break. Kevin said, Mr. Frank is already light years ahead of African financial institutions. I just pray they understand him. On that basis, I'm going to play a quick commercial break. When I come back, we're still going to continue with Frank for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to give then opportunity for you to ask questions, and I'm going to bring him back again, so don't worry. Just a quick break, please.
How it all started, the hotel structure at the beginning. Our able CEO with his esteemed clients on site. With our Pious Products furniture crew on site, working in immense progress. Fixing and installations of the doors and the wall panels. The arrival of the Goodell Hotel signpost. Completed Goodell Hotel structure. Beautiful state-of-the-art restaurant. Comfortable beds with classic chairs and stool. Gallant walkways with durable door holdings. Beautifully designed wall panels. Reception area. Well-fitted door edges. Durable working table. Another reception area. Restaurant palace. Just take a look at this beauty. Come on guys, don't you just love Pious Products Limited? Wall panels at its peak. Come on. Grand opening day, looking so pang. It can only be one. Pious Products Limited. Pious Products Limited. Luxurious furniture at its peak.
Hello. That is the furniture company run by a brother, a younger one actually. He's an honorable man, and I felt if you have a place you want to dress furniture-wise, look no further, man. Call on Pious. You're welcome back. We are in a town hall meetings with an extraordinary human being, Frank Ekejija. He's still right here with us. He's been talking us through something beyond our understanding. In fact, beyond nation's understanding. If you're a professor, you'll be studying him. I think even if I am given the opportunity to study Frank in the next 10 years, I will still be looking for what next, because I've been listening, I'm still not there. So I'm only going to beg him to be a little bit patient with us. We are like laymen's up, so bear with us as we ask stupid questions. I'm going to give a chance to If you guys are on the platform and you have any questions, I'm going to give chance to one person to quickly throw one question in. I mean, they are right here on the WhatsApp group. Is anybody have a question? Shakure or Rufus, you have any questions, or you just happy to be in the presence of our uncle tonight? Okay.
Yes, I have a question, sir.
Okay, go on, Rufus.
I appreciate our uncle that come today. I appreciate him so much. And the question I want to ask is this: what can our uncle do to assist Nigeria in the system that we are today? There's something is said now that the Nigeria Central Bank is not owned by Nigerians. So how is he going to be able to help them to revive the system of the banking system in Nigeria? Because this is one of the problems we have. We don't have a long-time loan, and these are one of the problems we have. So how is he going able to assist the bank, either the central bank or one of those powerful banks in Nigeria, to enable to assist them so that it can help the people on the grassroots? That is what I want to answer.
Well,
yes.
Can you guys hear me clearly?
We can hear you loud and clear, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's we can partner with the banks and the central bank, really, to give them the capacity. I mean, agree that the central banks are not, but there are certain discretions that are given to them, and they belong to a club. And it is the knowledge that the governors and the board brings to that office that will determine what they are able to do. If they are knowledgeable and if they display some sense of finesse, they can use their office well. But if they follow the dictates as it is given to them and they are timid, they cannot take advantage of all of the powers that are given to them, because all of the central banks are connected at the hip at an organization in Brussels called the Bank of International Settlement. They are connected by the SWIFT system, and where they are able to deal on a ledger-to-ledger basis. What they need is an insightful, knowledgeable financier running their central banks, and they can take advantage of it. And of course, the economic policies that they're able to proffer to their local banks. You see, some of the things that we are dealing with in that environment in Africa is timidity. They are timid, and they are not equipped, and in most cases they're looking out for their own immediate interest, because they know their term in office is short. And so they do what they can for themselves, not minding what is beneficial to the generality of their people. And if we can get past that, then they can do more for their people. So it's very complex. But because I make the decisions here at NVC, and because we have the assets and the balance sheet, we can partner with their banks and have to recapitalize their banks by buying shares as anchor shareholders. So, like I said earlier on, I can only deal at a level where the other parties understand how these things are wired together. One of the things I deal with is that of intimidation. You know, when people, big numbers intimidate people. So I don't assert my numbers, because sometimes people get frightened by people look at you as if you're no longer human. I'm a simple guy. I don't allow those numbers to move me, because I've been settled in it for a long time. I was worth 1.3 trillion back in 2007. And so what do you do? What I mean, if people people find out who you are and what you do and what you have, they sort of get, you know, intimidated, and you lose touch with people. I don't want to lose touch with the ordinary people. So I'm not hung up on it. I'm just an ordinary, everyday guy. And most people don't know what I do and who I am. I'm just, to them, and Reverend Frank Ekejija, some are minister.
And I
Frank
said,
Ekejija, just an ordinary guy. So I don't allow it to dictate who I am and what I do.
In fact, I wanted to talk about you a little bit for the next 2 minutes, because how are you able to stay calm, stay low, be an ordinary man that I cannot even talk to with all this level of assets? How are you coping? It's not easy.
Daddy Chris, God will bless you for bringing this uncle today. That man is not just an asset, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. But it's so painful. It's so painful that our people are suffering, and they have people that can assist them, pulling them out of poverty. But the environment we are, the Nigeria we are, those are the issues. And look at what the man just said. He said the Central Bank of Nigeria is not independent. It's still under colonialism.
But it's all,
so painful.
It's all central bank, Rufus. It's all the central banks. There are people, he said it all. We're not going to go into the politics of it. I don't want to drag him into that part of it. So one question I really want to ask quickly, sir, is, and I'm sure that concerns every man watching here, is Nigerian banks. We have the highest lending rate in the world, especially Africa as a whole. You know, you go to bank in Africa to lend money, you're ready to pay through your nose. But it's not so in Europe. How is that? Can you tell us? I know this is not your level. This is not what you do. But can you tell us why it is so?
Well, Daddy Chris, I can hardly hear you. Maybe you're far from your telephone, from your microphone. But so repeat your question so I'll be clear about it.
Yes. Can you hear me better now? What I was saying is lending in Africa. If you go to a bank in Nigeria to take a loan, you'll be paying 30-something interest rate, 20-something. That is, if you have 20-something, you'll be happy. But in Europe, you don't have that kind of ridiculous amount of rate on your loan. Why is it so in Africa as a whole that we have to pay through our nose to get a small loan?
Well, it's all of the systems that are put in place to oppress the commonality of the people. I mean, it's like I said, the system is set up as a slave system. They want you to poverty is a tool of control. When people are poor, when people are disorganized and dispossessed, they become manipulatable. They become pliable.
Yes.
And the system of oppression is for real. And you can see that in the mindset of those who are in leadership. I mean, what makes the society here in the West tolerable is because those who have been wealthy for a long time realize that if they don't make certain provisions for the working class or the average class and make it easy for them to enjoy their wealth, then at some point they themselves will be in trouble. I think the leaders in Africa, the class of the privileged, they haven't really come to that realization that it is better to have a stabilized middle class so that they can enjoy their wealth. I mean, imagine what is going on in Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria shouldn't be this poor, but there are certain mindsets, certain cultural norms in certain parts that sees poverty as a tool of control. And they've taken it too far, unfortunately. By keeping their people poor, by keeping them ignorant, by keeping them tied down to religion. And it makes it easy for them to manipulate their generality. And so, you know, we have to break down those kinds of thinking,
yes,
and uplift their understanding that when you have a stable middle class, a productive middle class, that it lifts everyone up, and so those who are wealthy can enjoy their wealth. It's no fun in a society where majority of the people are poor and then you're rich, then you become a target, and that shouldn't be the situation in an educated society. So we need to allow those who want to be able to level the playing field. That is why people like Peter Obi are important, because we're trying to save Nigeria. We're trying to save the system so that they can save themselves. Unfortunately, I'm getting a little bit out of that range. I mean, I'm no longer a young man, but I will do the best that I can while I can with what I have at this point. But so I can only support that which is right for the generality of the people.
In fact, what I'm going to do is, I know I am going to, Peter will be the team, they are listening and they will be in touch immediately. What I want to say to them is, hey, the guy that joined us, Doctor, ran for American president, and he used this opportunity to hook up with your brother. Have you done so? Well, I'll leave that for you. Well, he joined this show to have opportunity to have a chat with him. That is how close, that's the human being we're talking to here tonight, in case you missed the news. Well, I'm going to allow Kevin. Kevin has been contributing on the platform. I want Kevin, he has a question for you. Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, if you mute your phone, you can then talk to Uncle Frank. I want to call him Uncle Frank.
Let me pause it.
Yes. Yes. Yes, if you stop, go on.
Mr. Frank, good evening, sir. From Nigeria. I'm calling from the federal capital city of Nigeria.
Can you hear him, Frank? Yeah.
I can barely hear you guys. I don't know what is my system or yours, but
yeah, it's your system. But can you speak a little bit louder, Kevin, so Uncle Frank can hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, please. I want to thank you especially for coming on air. This is a very, like I said, it's a bullet train discussion. This is not a financial engineering discussion for children. These are for master class. And it will take a lot of few people to understand what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
So let me go straight to the point.
Yes, sir.
Like I was discussing about financial banking instruments. I think that is one of the best ways you can help us in Nigeria, that we, even that the Chris can benefit from what I'm discussing right now with you. Yes, sir. If you can make available some fund in one of these top-rated banks in Nigeria on a trusted hand, I guarantee you, if you can drop a reasonable amount of, like, if it's just approximately in US dollar, $10 million in Nigeria, you know what that money will amount to. Where we can issue out instruments. I have a lot of beautiful, wonderful clients that want instrument of, this is television, let me just say, as low as $5 billion naira, and I have offers all the time that comes in. But what we want to know is where the office is in Abuja. And this one I'm discussing, I know it will benefit everybody, even that increase, and everyone listening on this program.
Wonderful.
If you can have funds available for us in Nigeria, if it's minimum of like $10 million, $20 million available, where we can issue instruments like bank guarantees, block fund, bank endorsed check, and bank drafts. We have people that lift oil from our water here to Ghana, so they use those instruments to move their transactions. Because we know you don't give out cash. What you do, you give out instruments. They will pay you load to value. I don't know if it's possible. Then that's one of the greatest ways you can help us out. Thank you.
Yeah, I heard you. I think I'm not too sure if some of my associates in Nigeria who worked with the MVC Fund, Dr. Fiamma or Etin Bassi, whether they are on this platform or not, but they can help handle some of those issues. I don't do as much as I used to do anymore because I've been working for too long, and I'm having fun right now. Semi-retired, but it's been grueling. Especially over the last 5 years dealing with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. It's been very tedious. What they try to do to me. It's by the grace of God that I was able to go through that inquisition. They came for my neck. They came very hard at me, trying to put me out and discredit me. And I'm still so I have a large claim against them in the federal courts because they did not. They came at me falsely, and they tried to tarnish my reputation with false accusation, and that is not allowed under the normal rule of commerce. But these people don't follow their own rules, and they will do anything if they can find a chance to take you out. And that is why I keep a very low profile, because they came hard at me, and it's by the grace of God that I was able to survive it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I don't know what to say to you people watching, Nigerian government, Nigerian banks, African banks, those of us in the diaspora. We are blessed with a human being that happens to be so humble, so loyal, and at this time, I can tell you he wants to give back to society. But you got to put yourself in a position to be helped. And you heard him loud and clear. All these things are working. There's an office in Nigeria working at the moment. The question is, are you receptive to them? NVC Bank, we're talking some big investment opportunities, in fact, wealth creation opportunity for the nation, for Africa, and for those of us in diaspora. We cannot be in the midst of water and trying to wash our face with saliva. We get to think wise. Thank you very much, Uncle Frank, for this enlightenment. I still have one or two questions, and I know my people on the platform, they have one or two questions to ask. But before that, I want to bring what this man said. He said what he said here is, Mr. Frank, a lot of your brothers back home have beautiful ideas. They are wasting for lack of encouragement for investment institutions like the NVC holding. Then he went further in the next question, say, how much can you deliberately, through your company, help to lift most of these eggheads after due diligence, as trust should be an issue here, sir? What he's saying is, I think you heard him loud enough. Many of them are good. They have some beautiful ideas. The challenge is most of them don't even speak the language you're talking about, other than Kevin, who understands you, sir. 90% of people tonight, don't get me wrong, they don't understand what you're saying. We are in the level of low-level banking. And so when you're talking big this way, we get confused because you're talking about helping a nation like Nigeria. And that is why I bring in the issue of Peter Obi. I don't want to drag you into politics and the issue of governance, politics in. Because it is important that they can tap into, Nigerian government tap into you. I don't care, Peter, whoever become the president, they can tap into what you have to offer. The Central Bank of Nigeria should be consulting you. Delta State, he's an open man. He's from my brother, from Saple. He's not far. Oh, please take note. Sir, so I'm going to just quickly let you throw in one or two things. And the key point here is, poverty has been used as a tool of control on us. We want to get out of it. We are handicapped, sir. Most of us cannot actually raise or be able to put ourselves in a trustworthy position to approach you and approach what you do now. it's a little bit of catch-22, really. How do we go? How can we put ourselves in a position to be able to tap on what you do, sir? Because you're too large. But at least when you hold, if I can hold your shoe, the dust of your shoe, I know I'll be smiling. So how do we do that, sir?
Well, thank you, Daddy Chris. You're pretty insightful there, but it's really that is capacity. You know, if we like you said, if the federal government, the central bank, the leadership will understand, because you see, what allows me to be able to do what I do is because I have an unusual capacity to make decisions unilaterally without having to consult with everybody that have various interests. Sometimes conflicting interests makes it difficult for decisions to be made. But when you have the power to make decisions, makes it a whole lot easier to execute. Having said that, I can't do everything by myself, but I can help constituted authorities to be able to give them the capacity, give them the balance sheets, give them the credit they need to be able to do what needs to be done according to the rules of commerce. There is a universal code, what they call the UCC code, that allows the banking world to operate. It's called UCC.
Okay.
And there is the United Nations Unicentral Convention on the Bills of Exchange. They are financial instruments according to the ICC rules that governs letters of credit. And all of those things that I just mentioned are based in accounting principles. Asset versus liability is what rules the world. What we have in the form of global finance is based on a ledger-to-ledger system, a balance sheet system, a giant accounting system called International Financial Reporting Standard. It's called the American Institute of Certified Public Accounting Guidelines. All of those things have meaning. Accounting rules the world. Asset versus liability rules the world. What NVC Fund has needs all of those rules of accounting, and so I'm able to stand on top of that because I've not only met their statutory requirements, I've also met the UCC requirements, I also met the common law requirements, I also met the ecclesiastical requirements and the divine requirement. All of the earth and all the wealth of the world belongs to God. It belongs to Christ. And so if you take it from that vantage point, every other thing becomes small. The cattle on 1,000 hills and the valleys and the hills and the cattle that dwells in it all belongs to.
So what I'm gonna do is because not everybody, like I said, we are privileged to have you, sir. I'm gonna give only one person, please, guys. I know you're live there on the phone, but I'm gonna give only Pastor Sonny one small chance to chip in something quickly, and not everybody can talk tonight, please, because I've kept Uncle Frank here for over almost 2 hours now. So let's that. Yes, sir. So let's just quickly give Pastor Sonny a breathing space to weigh in something quickly, and then we're gonna put this to a close. Thank you very much, Sonny. Quick one.
Oh, Daddy, I want to ask a question. Daddy, please, God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless. I want to thank our big brother, Brother Frank. God have blessed you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Quickly, I want to, as a big brother, also to, your brother down here at home, I want to tell our brother this is the right time for him to be considering home, how he can bring his investment home, and how he can be at least both his family to identify with us at home. And this is what we need for we to grow our society down home here.
Thank you.
We have, as our friend can understand, our rivers are virgin land, are virgin. Our lands are virgin, have not been cultivated. For instance, Saple, where you come from, Okbe, it only takes you 1 hour, 30 minutes to Lagos. We need a coastal road. We need a coastal road because we have seen a private who have invested on road and they are making it here. Like the Lekki toll gate, it's a private investment. And the people are reaping their money in good terms. Like the coastal road from here to Lagos, 1 hour, 30 minutes from Okbe here. Whereas we are spending 9 hours, 8 hours passing through our Israeli journey. We have the creeks here that are viable for fishing. One can invest in, and in return, we'll be making more money. So, sir, I want to ask, in what way can we be of down earth here? In what way can we actually benefit from what God has given to you? In what area can we benefit? In what area can we come in?
Thank you. So that would be, I think you made yourself well. So what I'm going to say, I'm going to just add something to that, sir. The question really is, coming home is important. But like say, Sonny, you know, Uncle Frank cannot be doing everything now. It's not starting. Most of his talks are deep. Yeah. So he's not going to be able to handle all. So we better come up with great ideas. Uncle Frank, wait on this quickly. Over to you, sir.
I want to ask a question.
No, let him answer Sonny's question first, then you can come in. I'll give you a chance. So are you with us, sir?
Well, I think we've trashed the same issue.
Yes.
It's really I think it's a matter of capacity. I don't know everybody, and people have to make proposals, and everybody have great ideas. I think what we need is the partnership with the banks and financial institutions, so I can help them help their people.
Yes.
The partnership with the central bank and the government, so I can give them the capacity. I can provide them a balance sheet. So if they need 10 billion or they need 100 billion in assets, yes, then they can monetize it because they have the authority, the same authority that any government have to be able to print money. But to print their currency, they need assets to back it up. So I can provide them that asset, that backing to undergird their currency. That is what I have the ability to do. I cannot do everything.
No, I agree with that.
At every level. So if I can help the authority to balance their books, then it's what we're dealing with is really a matter of capacity building.
Yes, sir.
And I'm grateful to God that I have the understanding and the knowledge to be able to do that. But it has to be in collaboration with the government of the day, and they have to be ready, willing, and able to execute and follow instruction.
Yes, sir. And that brings us to one aspect of it. Delta state government. If Nigeria is not even listening, though we need Nigeria, are you listening? He is one of us. He's willing to come home and help us, but you get to give him what he needs to work with. He can't work with me. It's not in the level of working with ordinary people. I describe NVC as a bank to bank. He's only working with top financial institutions, state government, maybe. You know, those are the levels, not what I want, not the kind of investment that the Chris is looking for. So let's get that clear. For those of you that watch tonight, he's not looking, he cannot help this your small, minute idea. You might think it's big, it's minute. from where Uncle Frank is coming from. I'm going to quickly allow Isiakwere one quick question, and then we put this to an end. Thank you very much. Isiakwere, quick one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daddy Chris. Thank you for giving me the privilege to ask this question.
Yes.
Our guest, thank you so much for coming on the program. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
For educating us.
Thank you.
But there's one thing that is bothering me, and it's really common in Delta State and also all over Nigeria. I'm thinking, after our workers, after they step the government for a long period of years, and they've worked for a long time, for some decades, and after retirement, they hardly get their pension after retirement. Some of them, they die at the cost of, or even before receiving their pension. So as a professor or in the banking industry, I'm asking, is there a way by which you can partner with the government, like Delta State government, for instance? Is there a way you can partner with Delta State government so that its workers can start saving their pension in your bank or with you? Because we know that you are a professor in the banking industry, so we know that just like what we have here in UK, US, when you work for years and you retire, your pension is standby. You get your pension every week or every month, as the case may be. So is there a way you can create a banking system with the government to save the workers their future pension? Because at the moment, they don't have their pension after retirement, or they hardly have their pension after retirement. The government will not look after their fees. And you know that if these workers, if they save their pension with your bank for these numbers of years of service, those pension, those amounts they save, will accumulate more.
Yes.
Because from the investment, you definitely use the money to invest in your bank, and they will give interest. So that's what I'm saying. Is there a way you can work with the government to see that workers' pension is saved for their future benefits? Thank you.
So it's a kind of pension fund. You say asking if you can work with the government to set up a pension fund. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yes. So that our fathers, our mother will not die of starvation. Yes, from getting their own pension or their entitlement.
Yes, so those who want to mismanage will not mismanage their future.
Well, I heard you. That is a very deep outside conversation from the scope of what we have to cover tonight. I hear you, and Nigeria had a system like that, and they still have a system like that, but you saw that one man at the helm of affairs was able to steal the entire pension fund, and no repercussion. I mean, we had a slap on the wrist and get away with it. The Nigeria system is dealing with that of impunity. So many things gone wrong because you don't have strong institutions. People gutted the government, they gutted the system, and they're able to get this system is so porous. Nigeria and that's part of what we're talking about when we say we need a stable government and run by credibility. And this is more of an entire institutional level, entire societal level, and those are the scary part of Nigeria. I don't mean to discourage anyone, but it's
scary.
It's painful. It's painful.
It's painful. I agree. Thank you very much, sir. Listen, we have come to the end of the show. I cannot keep Uncle Frank anymore. My final message, I will let Uncle Frank give one final message to Nigerian government. The message is to the government on how they can put their act together so that they can be, they can be able to work with you. That is only what I want to say. I want to talk to the real people that matters. How the Central Bank of Nigeria can put themselves together and work with you. How the Nigerian government, the Delta state government, and other state government who are thinking smart can put their acts together and approach your people. I won't be giving the address of your office in Abuja. I won't put it open here, but with permission, with time, I know I will be sharing that with the audience who watch the show tonight. So, but I mean, what we're talking about is not something for street businesses. We're talking of government, and only government and central bank can actually work with you. So, and through those people, you can then help us. So, what would you need from them, sir, to do that?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm sure some of my people are in the call somewhere. Professor Fiamma is probably listening. Maybe he didn't have a chance to speak. And 18 Bassis is there somewhere. And some of the people that know NVC Fund a little bit closer perhaps are listening and participating in the conference. Maybe we'll have another session at some point where where key things can be ironed out. I mean, I think this is just the beginning. You see, I've been fighting some battles. I think it's time. People, one of the things that I hear all the time is that, you with all of that, how come people don't know who you are? Well, I didn't want to be a public figure. I didn't want to be all over the place. I kept my cool. But there's a time for everything, and I think that time is past. Having gone through what I went through over the last few years, by the time I'm finished doing what I need to do, now that I have dealt with the issue frontierly with the government of the United States through the Securities and Exchange Commission, through the federal high courts, through the federal courts in the United States, we are now at a table where we are negotiating how they're going to clean up the damages that it costs under the law. Yes. I am glad I was able to survive the Inquisition.
Yes, sir.
That at the end of the day, the story will be told appropriately. And one of the things, you see, one of the things they tried to use the government, the court system and the government to do was try to bury what I have done and try to make it, try to nullify it, but they could not, because they were done according to their rules of engagement. But when it came to an African and a black man, they wanted to change the rules. I told them, said, you're not going to be able to change the rules unless you want to turn the entire financial systems upside down. And you cannot do that on the account of one man. And so we're gonna stick to the rules of engagement that you guys set up. Not when the United States became the United States. These accounting principles have been in existence even before the United States of America was created. Wonderful. You're not going to change the accounting rules on the account of one man. I followed all your rules and regulations, and I've met all of your qualifications. And so let's deal with that, regardless of the color of my skin or my nationality. I put in the integrity, I put in the work, and you've been able to vet it, and you couldn't find any fault in it. You said you couldn't find any fault in it, you couldn't find any claims against it. Then why are we here in court? You brought me to court because you wanted to damage me. But since that did not work, now you created a liability that has to be settled. Yes. And I'm glad we're in court, and the court is where you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So let's deal with it.
Yes, sir.
So we're finishing that now. But as for way forward is to partner with governments. I want to help my people. I want to help my constituency, which are the Black people throughout the earth. We've been excluded from the financial system through banking. The idea that we have 6 continents and there's no African bank in the top 25 bank is no longer acceptable. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves for putting African people under this constraint, and we're going to have to find a way to remedy that. and I'm putting my foot down on that. And I want the support of all men of goodwill to see the injustice in that system. And the system that is set up to disenfranchise the entire 1.8 billion Africans is no longer acceptable, and it shouldn't be acceptable under any condition. So we're going to fight all of that out, and that's the kind of battle that I'm fighting. I have the support of the African Diaspora Central Bank. I have the support of the ECO6 governor. I have the support of the head of the African Financial Regulatory Authority, Dr. Agrippa Damba. So I'm dealing with the people at the highest level for the benefit of the African continent. Though I'm here in the United States, I never forgot my roots. I'm a Nigerian, and they never let me forget that. I cannot change my race. I cannot change the color of my skin.
Yes, sir.
I'm not changing my name or anybody. And so we're going to deal with that, and we're dealing with it. And by God's grace, these things will come to pass, and they are coming to pass. So it's a matter of capacity. Yes, so if the federal government of Nigeria, if the office of the Ministry of Finance, the central bank governor, and those who are in the financial authority will partner with us and let us help them, then they can help the people. And the damage that has been created over a long period of time is very difficult to correct, but nevertheless, we can change direction, begin to move in the right direction by building critical institutions and infrastructure based on the rule of law. Yes, and if we can do that, then Nigeria will begin to see change. And West Africa will begin to see change. The African continent will begin to see change. So there are battles at the highest level that I have to grapple with. And it's not easy doing these things. And so
we can hear you, sir. Loud and clear. Yes, sir.
So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Uncle Frank. We want you to go and get some rest. Like the battle has been a lot. The battle tonight, I know it's been a lot, but thank you so much for educating us. In fact, you know, you speak beyond us, you know, but yet we have managed to hold on to your shirt, if it is the lace of your shoe, to see how we can run around with you. But the message is really to the Nigerian government, to the Central Bank of Nigeria, to the African Union, on how we can save a continent. He has the capacity. He's been placed in a position to do so for us. He can't do it if we don't do the right thing. And for those of you in the United States, please leave our brothers alone. Please leave him alone. Anyway, you have nothing to do anymore. You have to pay compensation for the damage it you've caused. And we are all watching. Thank you so much, Uncle Frank. We are behind you. God is with you. And our ancestors is with you. You know, I know many of us don't believe anymore. They are with you. They will see you home. We want to see you back home at some point. Do Christmas with you. Please think about that. And that I can't think of a better place to say thank you very much for Uncle. Thanks for coming. And I want to say good night to you, sir. And
thank you so very much, Daddy Chris. You're doing a fantastic job of bringing the community together. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
And we're going to bring you back, sir. We're going to need you from time to time. Because this is the only way, because they don't know. People don't know about you. Now they've seen they're going to be running after me. They don't want to get in touch with you. I know the federal government of Nigeria will do so. The state governor will be doing that. Please, just don't mind us. Don't mind our mistake. We are like, you are the Joseph. We sold you out. Now we want you back. We don't have where to run to. We'll run to you.
Well, I mean, the central bank is aware of me. I think the president's office is aware. So the Nigerian Financial Regulatory Authorities are aware. I think we're trying to consolidate into some banks and help the banks so that we can help the people. So those processes are ongoing. I think I'm grateful for Professor Fiemo in Abuja, who interacts with the central bank and the office of the president on a consistent basis. So they are aware of who we are. Just trying to find ways to the people are a little bit slow in their action. You have to give them space because they are sort of flabbergasted when they look at the balance sheet of NVC. They ask questions. Can this be real? They're looking for homes, asking questions and looking for comfort and blah blah blah. They're looking for it's not easy being a black man in this world doing the kind of things that I do. It's very lonely here, and there are people who rather that I just don't exist, I just go away because it's threatening to the system that they built up. But that's not I'm a solution to the problem, not a hindrance to it. So they have to learn to deal with me.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And then I hope the Nigerian government they've listened and they will be jumping at this side. We'll be working with you. I know that, and I'll be making a lot of noise on this. And I want to beg you, sir, to also grant interviews to most of our TV stations back home. I'll be working on that. And now this is for the diaspora. I want those of them at home to also listen to you, just to hear from you, sir, to give that confidence that your people on the ground, they are doing the right thing. They have your blessing. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. So that's what we end. Thank you very much. Good night, sir.
SR TV. Innovative content.